There's nothing like rivalry week in college football. Our friends at J&J Apparel have released two awesome designs for two of the best rivalry matchups in the South. The Egg Bowl 2025 shirt features a hand-drawn design of the Golden Egg Trophy, available in colors for both Rebels and Bulldog fans. And of course, there's the Iron Bowl 2025 design for our Alabama and Auburn fans. Both shirts are available for a limited time only, so run on over to J&J Apparel's site and get it while you still can. The pre-sale ends December the 1st. Don't miss out. Shop at jnjapparel.net. Once again, that is jnjapparel.net for the Egg Bowl 2025 shirt and the Iron Bowl 2025 shirt, available through J&J Apparel. It is time for Rivalry Week here in college football, and there is no more bitter rivalry than the Egg Bowl rivalry between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. This week on Friday is the 119th meeting overall. It is in Starkville, Mississippi, and with all of the issues surrounding Lane Kiffin, is he staying? Is he going? David Johnson, Ole Miss Insider, is on deck to join us to talk about this game from Ole Miss, and then later on, Steve Robertson, host of The Boneyard, will join me to talk about this game from the Mississippi State side. This is the Egg Bowl Rivalry Preview Show right here on the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, Here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, I want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show, and happy Thanksgiving week to everyone out there. This is going to be an amazing week of college football and, of course, Thanksgiving. We are about to begin talking about one of the most bitter rivalries in the Southeast and in the nation, the Egg Bowl rivalry. And this, of course, is the 119th meeting overall, and Mississippi State, unfortunately, is 1-4 in the last 5 home games there in Starkville against the Rebels. To break down this game and all of the Lane Kiffin saga on the Ole Miss side, here is Ole Miss reporter legend, Mr. David Johnson, who is supporting the sunglasses this morning, and he looks rather cool and ready to go for the Egg Bowl game. David, how are things with you there in Oxford, Mississippi?
Oh, the future's so bright, I have to wear shades, Stingray.
Yes.
I'm wearing these shades because I'm on some medication that makes my eyes light sensitive to screens. So I'm not trying to be cool this morning or anything like that. Thank you for the rousing introduction, by the way. This is it. This is it for the state of Mississippi. It is every year, biggest sporting event inside the Magnolia State. And unfortunately, this year, or fortunately, ever how you want to look at it, I think Lane Kiffin looks at it as fortunate. Other people want Ole Miss as head coach, and that story has certainly cast a shadow over what is as you well described, one of the nation's most heated rivalries. And, I don't expect this game to be any different. I was talking to some people inside the program yesterday, and, they're telling me that the players on the Ole Miss roster are trying to rise above all of the talk that's out there involving their head coach. And, it seems to be working, that these guys are taking it on their own shoulders to go out and put their best foot forward on Friday and get Ole Miss into its first ever college football playoff, which will be a huge story in itself. As far as the Lane Kiffin stuff goes, listen, I've said what I've wanted to say about it. The ball is in Lane's court, obviously. But this week, I'm focused on this ball game. And, for Ole Miss to try to get to 11-1 and to firmly cement themselves into the college football playoff field, which ought to give them a home game in Oxford for the college football playoff first round, which will be the biggest game there's ever been in Oxford, period. This one coming up Friday is one of the biggest games that's ever been in Starkville. The Bulldogs have bowl eligibility riding on the line. Jeff Lebby can certainly send a message to the nation and fire a shot across the bow of his former boss, Lane Kiffin. And of course, we know what's at stake for the Ole Miss Rebels. And by the way, I want to compliment you on your background scenery and your wardrobe this morning.
Thank
you look good in Rebel red and blue.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. But of course, this is an SEC show. So when we do talk about Mississippi State, I will be switching to Mississippi State like I always do with every SEC team. So, David, what is the latest that you can tell us about the Lane Kiffin situation there in Oxford?
Yeah, I mean, it's still up in the air. And I think Keith Carter said it all with the statement he released last week. Lane will have an announcement, a statement on his future on Saturday.
Yeah.
And whether that's I'm here, I'm locked in, I've signed a new contract with Ole Miss, which is on the table, north of $13 million, plenty of money for assistance, plenty of NIL money. The total package worth somewhere around $25 million a year when you factor in NIL money and all that good stuff. Or I'm going to LSU or Florida.
Right.
And I think maybe we were a little premature to discount where the Florida Gators are in this whole thing. I do think it's Ole Miss and LSU and then Florida. But I don't really think anybody's been ruled out of those three teams. I think one thing we know for sure, Lane Kiffin is going to be coaching in the SEC next year. We just don't know what kind of colors he's going to be wearing. Is it red and blue, purple and gold, or orange and blue? I don't know.
So, David, when you look at this matchup, talk about the hype and the excitement outside of the Lane Kiffin saga about Ole Miss going into Starkville, where Mississippi State is 1-4 in the last 5 games against Ole Miss there at home.
Yeah, Stingray, that's where the Ole Miss focus should be. You've got a team about to qualify, hopefully, for the college football playoffs. You've got a team that could finish 11-1. You've got one of the best teams in the country. You're playing your bitter rival on Friday, national TV. I guess everything's on national TV now, but you know what I'm saying? A big-time game. And the shadow is what tragically is overlying everything right now. I'd love to be excited about, the game itself, But, if you've got to turn the TV on Saturday and see Lane Kiffin in a purple and gold tie,
Yeah.
That stinks. That really stinks. And, but I don't think he's come to the conclusion yet that he's definitely leaving Oxford.
Right.
Odds are, I think he is. But I don't think those odds are complete just yet. And, one positive thing about Keith Carter giving him until after the Egg Bowl is that Carter and Dr. Glenn Boyce, they can negotiate every single day this week with Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
And try to keep him here, in all honesty. Kiffin has been the best thing that has happened to Ole Miss football since Johnny Vaught.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you go back to Matt Luke's last year here to where this program is now, it's night and day. It's electric what has happened. And Kiffin's impact, and I'll have to say this again and again, has not only been wins and losses for the football team and national rankings and CFP bursts and all that good stuff. It has been a huge impact for the Oxford economy as well as the Ole Miss student population.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are some academics out there that don't like giving the head football coach credit for the fact that there are now 27,000 plus students at Ole Miss. But it is a factor.
Yes.
It is a factor why Oxford now has basically 3 downtown areas. You've got Jackson Avenue, you've got the Square, and then you've got a whole new district that has popped up right off the highway out there on Sisk Avenue, where
Mm-hmm.
there's a second Chick-fil-A, a Mexican restaurants, Italian restaurants, a Mediterranean restaurant coming, apartment complexes, a Sullivan's grocery store. I mean, all of that is just, I think you can attribute it to the success Lane Kiffin is having with the football program. Because let me tell you, I've been living in Oxford for almost 16 years.
Right.
And this kind of growth did not happen under Houston Nutt, Hugh Freeze, or Matt Luke. But it's happening right now in Oxford.
And David, I don't ever want to hear anybody else say that our program can't build because we don't have the funds. Look at the example of Ole Miss right there. For years, they were on the bottom half of the SEC, and now you've got to talk with them about one of the perennial powers of the SEC. When you talk about Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Florida, now you've got to throw Ole Miss in there as well because of your head coach right now, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's something else Lane is credited for. He has operated through NIL and transfer portal very much like an NFL general manager.
Yes.
And, I'm not sure any of his predecessors could have done that. So a huge bit of credit goes to he and his staff for what he's done here. But, as we've talked about before, Stingray, everybody in the SEC is rich now.
Yes.
Everybody can go buy players. Vanderbilt's doing it. Mississippi State's doing it. I mean, look at the improvement the Bulldogs made over 24-25.
Yes.
They are one win away, happens to be against Ole Miss, from punching their ticket to the bowl season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody would have thought that last year when they went 2-10. And the success that they're having in Nashville with Vanderbilt, Clark Lee's a great football coach, but it's because Vanderbilt decided, we've got this TV money now. We're going to spend it on football players. And by George, they're doing it. And look, they're what, 9-2? Number 14 in the country, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, everybody's got money. It's just everybody hasn't run their system like Vanderbilt and Ole Miss.
Right.
And we're giving Lane Kiffin credit at Ole Miss, I'm going to give my former compadre at 24/7 Sports some credit at Vanderbilt. Barton Simmons is the general manager of the Vanderbilt football program. And, man, you see the job he's done. Absolutely incredible. And, so everybody's rich. Everybody can win. It's more of an NFL mentality now. Anybody can beat anybody in the SEC. And that goes from Arkansas on a good day to Alabama on a bad day. Anybody can beat anybody. Yeah. It's why we follow the game on Saturdays.
So, David, when we look at the matchup on Friday, you have covered this Ole Miss team all season. What concerns you the most about that team going into Starkville on Friday?
Yeah, it's the distractions.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing, in all honesty. It's nothing in the X's and O's that I see where there's a weakness on Ole Miss that Mississippi State could possibly exploit. They could, but my biggest concern, it's the distraction of who you're going to be playing for next year.
Yeah.
It's the distraction of the portal opening January 2nd. It's the distraction of maybe there's a whole different coaching staff.
Yeah.
What do those kids decide to do? They're all thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the distraction of the assistant coaches going, do I sell my home? How quickly will my home sell? How long am I going to have 2 mortgage payments? We've got to withdraw the kids and enroll the kids at a new school in a new city. Those are the things that concern me on Friday, excuse me. And, apparently, at least the way things stand right now, we're not going to have an answer from Lane Kiffin until Saturday.
Yeah.
And, as an Ole Miss fan, and I am an Ole Miss fan, I cover the team, but I can do that and tell the truth.
Right.
As an Ole Miss fan, it's beyond me. I just cannot imagine you coming in here and building something and getting the fans to open up their wallets and pocketbooks to support what you're building. And the biggest game you've ever coached in, I know Lane was the coach of the Raiders and USC. This game tops them all in terms of importance. And you have put this thought out there that you might not be coaching this team next year. And with the portal rules the way they are, everybody can leave. So the first job that, if there is a new head coach in Oxford, his first job is to maintain his roster.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to keep the talent here before he worries about the portal or recruiting or anything else. And that's tough. And I think that's why it was a bitter pill for Ole Miss fans to swallow when Keith Carter announced Lane would have a decision after the Egg Bowl or on the day following. And, to some people that doesn't sit well. And look, I get it. Coaching is about coaching. My son's a college football coach, and you're going to get fired and you're going to get hired. There are going to be opportunities. And I totally get that. And I don't hold that against Lane. It's kind of like what Nick Saban said, Stingray. He said, this is not a Lane Kiffin issue. It is a NCAA calendar issue.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It is a Lane Kiffin issue. And I disagree with the greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban, on that one. Because Lane could end this today. He could end this Thursday. He could end it Wednesday. Pick a day. But you're going to end it after you play Mississippi State in possibly some half-cocked fashion in Starkville, which is, by the way, one of the most underrated places to have to play a game in the country. I'm telling you, when those cowbells get to clanging, and they'll clang from pregame to postgame down there Friday, it's disturbing. I mean, I hear those things for 3 or 4 days after I cover a game down there. And it's annoying, but it's disturbing. And you're going into the biggest game of your coaching career biggest game ever. I don't care what anybody says, and your team may be half cocked.
Yes.
That concerns me. That's concern number one, in a nutshell.
So, David, let's go on ahead and talk about. We saw a few years ago Jordan Travis was not available for Florida State, and you saw what the committee did to them. How concerned are you with the same similar situation of Lane Kiffin leaving? And I don't think the committee would potentially leave them out, but are you concerned about the seeding potential for the Ole Miss Rebels in the playoffs?
Oh, you dang right I am. And I'm concerned about Ole Miss making the field, period, if they lose to Mississippi State and Lane leaves. 11-1 Ole Miss, I could be coaching them and they're in the playoffs.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
10-2 Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin gets really iffy because, look, what if Vanderbilt beats Tennessee on Saturday and they finish 10-2?
Yeah.
Ole Miss could be in a quagmire of 10-2 teams with a recent loss to a 500 Mississippi State team and without a head coach. So you're dadgum right. I'm concerned about losing the game, losing Lane Kiffin, and making the playoffs. I don't think that meshes together.
Mm-hmm.
I think 11-1 Ole Miss, no matter who's coaching, is going to be in the field. But 10-2 Ole Miss without Lane, I don't know how attractive that will be to the committee.
So this is the 119th meeting all time of the Egg Bowl rivalry. If you would, give us a couple of your fondest memories of the Egg Bowl rivalry.
Yeah, my fondest memory, actually, the memory closest to my heart was a loss. And I'll take you back to the 2019 game, affectionately known as the Piss and Miss. If you remember that game, touchdown pass late in the game, and for Ole Miss to have a chance to win it, Elijah Moore heisted his leg in the end zone, 15-yard penalty. Luke Logan missed the PAT afterwards, and State won the game. I think that PAT would have forced overtime, and Ole Miss had dominated that game in the fourth quarter. My son was the starting center on that game, Eli Johnson, and for Ole Miss. And after the game, he was crying. Everybody was crying in red and blue. And he was walking off the field, his last game as an Ole Miss Rebel. And, he came up and he gave me a big old hug. And when he did, a photographer friend of mine caught the hug. And if you'll allow me to get up, I'm gonna get this picture. 1 second.
Okay.
Here is the photo of Eli walking off the field at the Egg Bowl. And, it was very emotional. And for me, that is my fondest and memory most dearest to my heart. And, that every time I look at that, I get a little emotional there. It hangs in my office. And, that's kind of it, Steve. And that's memory number one. I've got his cleats behind me on the shelf. He doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to get them bronzed for him for Christmas. His last pair of cleats that he wore in the Egg Bowl. And, so that's memory number one. Memory number two, I can go back to, I think it was 83 when I was like 12 years old. Artie Cosby and the immaculate deflection, the field goal that State missed, and it sent Ole Miss, I think, to the Independence Bowl, and they beat Air Force that year. To the Corey Peterson catch on the 2-point conversion. And a lot of people don't remember State almost beat us in that game. Even after that 2-point conversion, they were driving down the field, and I think an interception kind of sealed the deal. But tons of memories. And then The 2000 game. My dad died on December 16th, 2001. So it was a 2001 game where Deuce McAllister threw the touchdown pass to Romero Miller in the rain down in Starkville. My dad was very, very sick, and he called me over to the house that night to watch the Egg Bowl game with him, and we watched it together from start to finish. And he died a few days later. That's one I'll always remember. But it's funny. I'm doing exactly what Mississippi people do with this game. No matter what side of the fence you're on, you can equate that game to family because it is so much about family. Both of my older kids hold degrees from Ole Miss. I have a cousin who is working on a degree right now from Mississippi State. I've got aunts and uncles. I'm going to spend Thanksgiving with an uncle that is a state alum, my dad's brother, and he's all Bulldog. But I'll spend Thursday with him, and we're going to watch the game together on Friday. And that's always a lot of fun. And I've got family on both sides. My mom's side, my dad's side, that are State and Ole Miss just mixed up. And I grew up an Ole Miss fan in large part because I had an uncle who is a major Ole Miss fan, and he was a pretty good high school football player when I was just a kid. And I thought he hung the moon when it came to football. And he got me hooked on Archie Manning. And even though I was never a Saints fan, I'm a Falcons fan. But, but he was an Ole Miss fan. And he took me to my first ever Ole Miss game. I remember that well. And, I've been a Rebel ever since. And I live a mile from Vaught Hemingway Stadium. So that's kind of my deal there. I didn't go to Ole Miss. I went to Delta State. But, I've always been an Ole Miss fan, and God has blessed me with the opportunity to be here covering the Rebels. And I've been doing that now for almost 20 years.
Awesome. So, David, this game reminds me similarly of the 2022 situation where it was linked that Lane was going to Auburn, and on paper, Ole Miss was the better football team that year, but all of the distraction allowed Mike Leach and Mississippi State to walk in and steal the golden egg and the rivalry game. How do you see it playing out Friday morning at 11 a.m. in Starkville? The Bulldogs and the Rebels, who gets the golden egg?
Yes, Stephen, first thing I would say is this 2025 Ole Miss team is superbly better than that 2022 team from a talent standpoint.
Yes.
So, I do think this is going to be a relatively competitive game. But I do think the Ole Miss players are going to find their will and way to win this game. The State is going to be sky high. Jeff Levy will have them ready to eat barbed wire before the game. I'm not sure Lane Kiffin can do that with his Ole Miss team in the state of affairs right now.
Right.
But as I mentioned when we began this show, I don't think he's going to have to, because the reports I'm getting right now from the Manning Center are that the Ole Miss players have taken this mantle upon their shoulders to win it for themselves. And if they do that, I think this is going to be an interesting ball game. I truly do. But I do think Ole Miss wins this thing, and I think Ole Miss wins it rather handily. I know Steve Robertson's going to say 1,000,000-0 Bulldogs. I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to say 100,000-0 Rebels. Okay. So Steve's 10 times off his prediction than I am, but I don't see Ole Miss losing this game. If they do, this will be the most devastating loss in the history of Ole Miss football. I promise you. It would be a bitter pill to swallow, poison to drink for 365 days.
Yes.
And this is look, guys, this is all the marbles in Starkville Friday. I mean, I can't make it any bigger. Lane Kiffin certainly can't make it any bigger. I guess he could if he would just say, I'm staying in Oxford, but we have not heard that yet. We have not heard that yet. So, I think Ole Miss wins. I think the football gods would have this saga play on until Saturday morning, and we'll see what happens from there. But the thing nobody's really talking about, every big time recruit in the state of Mississippi and beyond is going to be there. So this would be a huge recruiting win for whoever takes home the golden egg.
So, David, as we walk out the door with you, because this is Thanksgiving week on Thursday, it is Thanksgiving. What are you most thankful for, my friend?
Yeah, I'm most thankful for family and friends. I mean, God has given me three of the best kids I could ever want. As I mentioned, Eli and Sydney both already hold degrees from Ole Miss. My youngest, Tori Kate, is just 11, but she's the joy of my life. And she's the reason that my whole house has been decorated for Christmas since November 1st, the day after Halloween. I got a wonderful wife, and I've got great friends like you, Stingray, and that means the world to me. And all the people I've met throughout the years, being fortunate enough to have a career in sports journalism, the fantastic kids that we get to cover, they're a blessing. They are such a blessing. I'll tell you, when I got my cancer diagnosis, I clicked on Twitter maybe the next day. I had no fewer than 100 direct messages from high school football players, going, hey, praying for you, David, praying for you. And man, that means the world to me. And, that's what I'm most, and I'm thankful for my Lord Jesus Christ,
Yes.
who died on the cross to forgive me of my sins. And, I can turn to him and talk to him at any point in time. And, as well, you know better than anybody, I've had a tough 2025. I've had foot surgery. I've had heart surgery, a heart cath before the open heart surgery, then a diagnosis of cancer. Then I had stomach surgery to remove the tumor and 21 lymph nodes. Technically, officially, I have what's called stage 3 cancer right now because it had jumped into the lymph nodes. But they took every cancerous thing out of my body when they did the stomach surgery. And I do another scan on December the 8th. All of our prayers are for a clear scan. And, any of your listeners out there that believe in prayer and Jesus is your Lord and Savior, I certainly would appreciate them between now and December 8th. And look, I feel great. We're going to get a good report, and off we go into the wild blue yonder. I should say the wild red and blue yonder, because, I'm doing good. I've already been walking this morning. I mean, I got up at 4:30 this morning, 4:30. But I had one Ole Miss fan call me at 11:30 last night. Another wake me up with a text message at 1 a.m. And I replied, and he was like, oh, I thought you would just reply in the morning when you got up. I was like, well, you woke me up, man.
Yes.
So, my reply is, I do not know anything, right. Period. Yes. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the readers, man, and the listeners, and, your audience and my audience. And, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to serve you in the way in which I do serve. That's what I got to say about that.
David, look, man, as always, thank you. Go and enjoy this Thanksgiving holiday week and be safe in your travels, especially going down to Starkville for the Egg Bowl there, and you will definitely be in our thoughts and our prayers with all of the issues that you were going through, my friend.
Thank you all.
And I will leave you with this, my friend, just for you, Hotty Toddy.
Hotty toddy.
Thank you, man, and happy Thanksgiving. Okay, so that is going to wrap up David Johnson. I really do want to thank him for taking time to join me to talk about the Ole Miss Rebels and the saga of Lane Kiffin, either going to Florida, either going to LSU, or staying there in Oxford. Right after these commercials, we are going to switch gears and talk about the Mississippi State Bulldogs with Steve Robertson. That's on the other side of this right now, right here on the Stingray Show. The Bulldog side of this matchup is right after this. The Thanksgiving holiday is fastly approaching, and if you have a large family coming to your house, let the Coker Market take the hassle out of the Thanksgiving dinner for you. You can order from the Coker Market smoked turkey breast, smoked half a ham, a Boston butt, wings by the dozen, tenders by the dozen, or sausage balls. Now with casseroles, which you just take and bake, sweet potato casserole, cornbread dressing, and green bean casserole. They also offer baked beans, potato salad, and yeast rolls. You can find them at County Road 140 in Coker, Alabama at the intersection of Romulus Road at the four-way intersection, or you can call to get your order done at 205-331-5066. Once again, that is 331-5066. Let the Coker Market take the hassle out of the Thanksgiving dinner for you this holiday season. There's nothing like Rivalry Week in college football. Our friends at J&J Apparel have released two awesome designs for two of the best rivalry matchups in the South. The Egg Bowl 2025 shirt features a hand-drawn design of the Golden Egg Trophy, available in colors for both Rebels and Bulldog fans. And of course, there's the Iron Bowl 2025 design for our Alabama and Auburn fans. Both shirts are available for a limited time only, so run on over to J&J Apparel's site and get it while you still can. The pre-sale ends December the 1st. Don't miss out. Shop at jnjapparel.net. Once again, that is jnjapparel.net for the Egg Bowl 2025 shirt and the Iron Bowl 2025 shirt, available through J&J Apparel. And now, let's transition to the home team of the 119th meeting of the Egg Bowl Trophy and the Egg Bowl Rivalry, and that is the Mississippi State Bulldogs, who are looking to become bowl eligible with its sixth win when it faces off against Ole Miss on Friday after a 2-10 season last year. To talk about the Mississippi State Bulldogs, here is best-selling author and host of the Boneyard podcast, Steve Robertson. Steve, how are things with you down there in Starkville, Mississippi?
Well, things are always great for me in Starkville, Mississippi, because it's God's country here. And yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting 10 days, right? I mean, I would venture to say that Mississippi State won the open date considerably over Ole Miss. Now, can they use that and win on Friday? That kind of remains to be seen. But I think Jeff Lebby and the Bulldogs are just kind of content to let Lane Kiffin and the Rebels make all the headlines. I mean, it's the only story in college sports, right? I mean, that everybody's talking about. And then there's Mississippi State just kind of lying like a snake in the reeds, just kind of waiting for that home date on Friday. And I thought Jeff Lebby and Brandon Langlois made a good decision with media availability this week. You only had 3 seniors go out there and speak. Right. Players that are not going to go out there and say anything inflammatory. So I think State's just trying to go play a football game and let Ole Miss get all the headlines.
So, Steve, what are your thoughts on the latest on the Lane Kiffin saga up there in Oxford?
Well, I just want to win a football game on Friday, and then I don't care what they do. But yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say he's gone. Now, of course, you can never assume anything with Lane Kiffin, right? Ever, because he's a maverick, right? I mean, that's one thing that makes him a great coach. But you never know what he's going to do. But I think that there has been, that statement that came out on Friday about we're going to make a decision or we're going to make an announcement or we won't have an update until after the Egg Bowl. I think as well intended as that was, I think that's kind of demoralized a lot of the fan base. I mean, you got some guys in the Ole Miss media already posting hot boards, you got folks in Baton Rouge already planning a press conference, and so nothing's done yet. And Jimmy Sexton is no joke, right? Jimmy's not going to have Kiffin sign anything right now until there's a contract in front of him. There won't be some memorandum of understanding. They're going to do things the way they can to get the best deal for their client. That's their job in this process. But, no matter how it works out, Lane Kiffin's going to have a very Merry Christmas because he's going to have a very, very, very large bank account here in a few weeks.
Now, Steve, let's talk about the season for Mississippi State. They are sitting here with a record of 5-6, and they were 2-10 a year ago. Talk about the improvements and some of the things that you feel like Mississippi State really needed to work on in the bye week, going from last year to this year, please, under Jeff Lebby.
Well, I mean, they're clearly a better team. And probably better than many people anticipated midway through the season. I mean, you still feel like you should have beat Tennessee. You got the ball and the chance to go win in the final 2 minutes of that game. You couldn't quite get it done. You should have beat Florida on the road at Florida. And then you had Texas down 17 points in the fourth quarter. And I think the fact that they've been so close makes it all the more frustrating. And I say all the time, your pain is a gift. I mean, like last year, Mississippi State didn't expect to win any of those SEC games. I mean, you hoped you go out there and be competitive. And now people have graduated from just being competitive to wanting to win. And they've been so painfully close in a few games that they should already be bowl eligible. And so the recent weeks defensively, they've taken a bit of a step back against the run. They're now bottom of the SEC in run defense. And that was something they had done a much better job of earlier in the year. But granted, you've played some offenses that have been predicated on running the football, right? I mean, Arkansas, even though State wins that game, they ran the ball successfully. Georgia obviously runs the ball successfully. And then Missouri, top rushing offense in the conference, runs the ball successfully. So you wonder how much of that is Mississippi State, how much of it is the opponent. Well, regardless of that, you know that Lane Kiffin and Keywan Lacey are going to want to come out and run the football. That's got to be job one, is slowing that down. I don't think you can stop that running game, but hopefully you can get just enough stops to give your team a chance to win this football game.
So, Steve, I know that there is a small minority, but they are a vocal minority in the Mississippi State fan base of fire Lebby. Let's just go on ahead and let him go. What do you have to say to those Mississippi State fans?
Well, first off, I love each and every one of them. Right. And you have to understand that angst comes from a good place, right? Yeah. They want Mississippi State to win. Everybody articulates their frustration differently, right? And a lot of those people have never been in leadership somewhere, right? Especially on this scale. Right. And so the knee-jerk reaction is just fire, 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 right? And we deal with that every day on our message boards. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get anywhere firing coaches every couple of years. I mean, like you fire Lebby after a year or two. Number one, State's not making a coaching change. Okay, that State's not going to fire Jeff Lebby. I mean, and it's just wasted keystrokes and emotional energy for people to suggest that. It's not going to happen. But let's just say it did. Well, you fired Joe Moorhead after 2 years.
Yeah.
Of course, God rest his soul, Mike Leach dies after 3. Zach Arnett's fired after 1. So you fire Lebby. That's 3 out of 4 that didn't get a third year and 1 that didn't get a second. Who's going to want that job, right? And that's the thing you begin to think about. And if you're Zach Selman, too, you factor in all this stuff with baseball, right? I mean, you fired Chris Lemonis, the only guy to win an AFL championship mid-season. You fired Zach Arnett mid-season. So you kind of establish that pedigree. It's like, hey, man, they get impatient. They listen to this very vocal minority part of their fan base on the lunatic fringe. maybe I don't want to go there, because what happens if I struggle one year? What if we have injuries? What if we have some things that work against us? So you got to make Mississippi State a more inviting place. And I think stability is how you do that. You got to give Jeff Lebby an opportunity to get a year 3. I mean, he's really only had 1.5 recruiting classes. And so bring this class to bed, work the portal again hard, and then see what you have next year. And you know what? If you're not pleased with the product after 3 years, you know what?
Right.
I think everybody's okay with moving on. But I think when you look at the market improvement of this program in year 2, and you begin to think about settling into next year and building around Kamario Taylor, I think there should be some excitement about 2026.
So, Steve, when we talk about the matchup here on Friday, talk about where you feel like that Mississippi State can really take advantage of Ole Miss, and especially that Pete Golding defense.
I think they're going to be able to run the football against Ole Miss.
Okay.
Fluff being back closer to 100% helps. Booth is a great back. Albert Reese being 100% at right tackle. State's found some great success off that right side when Albert's been healthy. And I think he may be one of Mississippi State's most important players, not just a lineman, but things are just different when Albert's not involved. Well, he's met with the media yesterday. He's ready to go. I think State's got to run the football. And I know Jeff Lebby wants to go. But I think when you've got a defense that's kind of struggling a little bit, especially on the depth side, it's probably better to be a little more ball control. Now,
Right.
I think that first drive, you want to get ahead as early as you can. You want those cowbells clanging as early as possible. You want them ringing long into the Starkville night. But if Ole Miss gets a stop and they get a score, and all of a sudden you're down 2 scores and chasing the game in the first half, you can't try to score too quickly. I think you've got to be very methodical in what you do, because I think this Ole Miss team has struggled. And somebody sent me some numbers on this. I haven't verified it myself, but in Lane Kiffin's tenure at Ole Miss, he's never won a game where he's trailed by 7 or more in the fourth quarter. So if you're Mississippi State, you start thinking about that aspect of it. The pressure is really all on them. Now, State's got some because, the season ends Friday if you don't win.
Right.
But, if you don't think that these guys are sitting around as players thinking, okay, well, if Coach Kiffin's leaving, is he taking me to LSU with him? Do I stay here? Do I end up going somewhere else? Do I reboot all this stuff? And if you don't think those conversations are happening right now, you're kidding yourself.
Right.
There's a distraction. And a lot of it, we all do it, right? When there is an unsettled nature within the spirit, right? We all begin to formulate the what if scenarios. And it's a stressor. Forget the fact that you're trying to punch your ticket to go to the playoffs. Now they're telling you in the national media, hey, if Lane Kiffin leaves and they lose to Mississippi State, they're probably not going to the playoff. And you know what? They're probably right. So that's an even greater weight on the shoulders of those Ole Miss players. That's why I think Mississippi State has got to get out to a strong start. You can't let them get confidence. You got to get them on their heels a little bit.
So, Steve, where do you feel like that Ole Miss can take advantage of Mississippi State when we flip it, especially the matchup of the Ole Miss offense going up against Mississippi State's defense?
Well, I think they're going to be able to run the football,
Okay.
and I think that's really one of the things you look at in recent weeks. State has been abysmal. You have 300 yards to one running back in Missouri, with Ahmad Hardy. Now, granted, he's great, but that's ridiculous. That can't happen.
Right.
And if you allow Ole Miss to just go out there and run the football and get in second medium, it's going to be a long night in Starkville, Mississippi. Now, you've got to get them behind the chains. And listen, Chambliss has been a difficult guy to sack too. So you've got to keep him in the pocket, make him be a quarterback, not let him be an athlete, because he is the second leading rusher on this team. And a lot of that comes when he improvises, when things break down. So you probably got to have a good spy on him, and you got to fit gaps. You've got to make Ole Miss actually play football and not just hand off all night, win a game.
So, Steve, this is the 119th meeting overall. Before we get your prediction, give us a couple of your fondest memories of the Egg Bowl rivalry.
Well, there's a couple of stories that predate me. Like, I love in 1905, first time the two teams that played in Jackson. There were no stands back then. Like, your fans were just on the field. And as State began to pull away, some of the fans wandered onto the field and were talking trash to the Ole Miss players, and referees had to get involved. And when the game was over, the Aggie cadets, many of whom had never ridden on a train before, went to that game. A bunch of them lost their hats too, looking out the window, not understanding that the wind would blow their hats off. But they conducted a full military funeral procession down Capitol Street in Jackson to bury the athletic spirit of Ole Miss. And how they got a coffin, I'll never know, but they had Bully the Bulldog up on top of the coffin. And, that's an interesting story. And
Right.
then, and I think going back to 1998, one from my lifetime, that I've said this many times before. Mississippi State got to capture the egg and celebrate an SEC West championship at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. They got to parade that egg around that stadium on their way to Atlanta. Until Ole Miss does that at Mississippi State, there's really not much for us to talk about.
Right. So, Steve, how do you see it playing out on Friday morning at 11 a.m. in Starkville, Mississippi? Unfortunately, Mississippi State is 1-4 in the last 5 home games against the Rebels. How do you see it playing out?
Well, the visiting team has kind of had the better of things the last decade.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things to consider. But I'm going to take State. And I'll tell you, a lot of it, I think, is just the collective psyche of that Ole Miss team is going to be really tested between now and then. I don't think they're thinking a lot about Mississippi State. Their media people are not even asking questions about Mississippi State. Everybody's asking more about Lane Kiffin, and rightfully so. I'm not being critical of that. But when you have all of this noise in the machine and your opponent doesn't, your opponent's not making a coaching change, your opponent's at home, it's a sellout crowd. If you go out there and you slip around a little bit early and you get behind, and all of a sudden this crowd from Mississippi State begins to take over a ball game, you start wondering about, well, what's next for me? It's difficult to get up off the mat when you have exhausted so much emotional energy thinking about something other than the task that you're asked to pursue at this point. So I think it proves to be a distraction. I think State gets just enough stops to win this game. I think it'll be a wild one, but I do think Mississippi State wins the ball game.
So, Steve, as we walk out the door on this interview, Thursday is Thanksgiving. I asked David Johnson this question earlier, and I will ask you, what are you most thankful for in your life?
Well, the first thing I would say, I'm thankful my friend David Johnson is still with me.
Yes.
And David is a great guy. I know that we cover 2 different teams. We grew up on 2 different sides of the rivalry, but I love David, and I've really gotten to know him a lot over the last several years. And he is a guy that I think about a lot and I check in with. He's had so much to deal with, and he's handled it all with such grace. But a little more personally, I'm so thankful, for my wife, my children, and my grandchildren. I'm so grateful that I get to do what I want to do for a living when so many other people have to get up and go to work at jobs that they don't. I never feel like I'm working. Like I got up this morning and I said, I'm gonna kill Egg Bowl week. I am going to kill our coverage this week in every aspect. I mean, I'm going to do, some retrospectives, and we're going to do extra podcasts, and we're going to do extra interviews. It's a joy to do what you love and to have a passion for that. And I'm so grateful for the guys that make it so easy for me, Mike Nemeth and David Murray and Rion Young and Jacob Bain and Nathan Purvis and Neil Stubchinski. And it's interesting too. I rattle off all those names, and my wife, of course, does pictures for us. We got the biggest sports staff in the state of Mississippi, right, at genespage.com. Bigger than the Clarion Ledger, bigger than the Tupelo Daily Journal. We have the largest sports staff in the state of Mississippi. And that's a company that I own. And I thank God for the opportunities that I've had and how he continues to bless me and my family.
And Steve, if you would like to also promote your spa that you have there in Starkville, feel free to do so.
Yeah, it's really changed my life. It's True Rest Float Spa of Starkville. We have a franchise. I floated for the first time in Albuquerque, New Mexico, of all places, and bought a franchise. like the next day. Like I began the process the next day to buy a franchise because I wanted my friends and neighbors to have this. Nothing has been better for like my anxiety, my aches and pains. You get into this float pot, it's 10 foot in circumference, got 1,200 pounds of magnesium infused Epsom salt in it. It's basically sensory deprivation. And listen, we're not that far from Tuscaloosa, you know,
Right.
so if people want to come check it out, they can visit TrueRest.com and learn more information. But the number is 662-268-7601. They can speak directly to my wife. It's a mom and pop shop, but it's mostly mom. Okay. And she's a registered nurse, so she can answer any medical questions people may have. But, you know, we have had a great run with this. It'll be almost 2 years here. And it's allowed my wife to stay in wellness. But the thing is just helping so many of our neighbors. We have so many people that have been with us the whole time that have not been able to find relief with anything else. And they've been able to find some rest. And you know, you don't have to be a chronic pain or a chronic anxiety person. If you just want a mental reset or you've always wanted to try it, it's right here in Starkville, Mississippi, the only True Rest location, the only float spa in the state of Mississippi, right here in Starkville. So you can call and get your questions answered or download the True Rest app and you can schedule online. But thanks for that. My wife works extremely hard with that and she loves it and loves her clients. And it's been a great addition to the great city of Starkville.
So, Steve, as we get out of here, any final words that you would like to say to Mississippi State fans and Ole Miss fans about the Egg Bowl matchup this weekend? The floor is all yours.
Well, the first thing I would say is, you know, Mississippi State fans need to show up. Okay, you need to show up and be loud and be proud. Ole Miss folks, I'm somewhat sympathetic to your situation, even though you do a lot of this to yourselves. But what Lane Kiffin is doing, kind of holding this fan base hostage when you've got a dream season, is very, very, very unfortunate, right? I wouldn't want that done to me, right? And even though it is a rivalry, I have, you know, my wife comes from an Ole Miss family, and she's not a rebel, but she comes from an Ole Miss family. Her uncle played at Ole Miss and with Archie, and so I feel bad for them. They should be celebrating a great season. But right now, many of them are just like, I'm just ready for all this to be over. I think that's unfair. And there's some great Bulldogs out there that'll say, hey, it couldn't happen to a better bunch. And I understand that sentiment too. But, you know, Dan Mullen put us through an awful lot too at Mississippi State. And maybe not to this scale, but I think that 2018 Mississippi State team with Dan Mullen at the helm probably wins the SEC West.
Mm-hmm.
And we were denied that. I had the number one defense in the country. And Dan leaves for Florida and Joe Moorhead comes in and we end up going 8-4, probably go 10-2, 11-1 with Dan Mullen here in that class. And so it is what it is. But I hope that everybody in your listening audience and around the world that are checking this thing out has a great Thanksgiving. The last thing that I want to say, if you are estranged from somebody in your family, this is a great week for forgiveness. And no matter what's happened in the past, it can be overcome. And there are going to be some things you never get over. You just kind of get on with it, but you don't want to die estranged from someone you love. And so maybe you're not ready for a phone call, but maybe a text or a Facebook message or something. That's one of the things I encourage people to do this time of year, because those people that are estranged, and I was once one of them, this is the loneliest time of the year. Because even while they won't admit it, their pride may not allow them to admit it, they want to be connected with their family. They want to be around for the holidays with their family. And so sometimes it just takes one person to take the first step. May that person be you.
Yes. Steve, thank you for saying that. Go and have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. Go and enjoy covering the Egg Bowl. Hopefully, Mississippi State can get the Egg Bowl trophy back to Starkville, and we will catch up with you later on, my friend. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, Stephen.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, so guys, that is going to wrap up the Egg Bowl Rivalry preview show there with Steve Robertson and earlier on David Johnson. I really do want to thank both gentlemen for joining me on this morning's edition. When I return tomorrow, right here on the Stingray Show, early, it is going to be a preview of the Lone Star Rivalry, as we are going to be doing a preview of the Aggies of Texas A&M versus the Longhorns of Texas. That is a monumental game for the playoffs, with implications there of Texas A&M, and can Texas get the bitter taste of their mouth, out of their mouth, I should say, on a disappointing season, to say the least, when they began the season preseason ranked number 1. We will see you guys tomorrow morning right back here at 8:30 on social media. For all of the Mississippi State and Ole Miss fans out there, go have a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving, and then go and cheer on your team, whether you say hotty toddy or whether you say Hail State. This is the best rivalry game out there. Good luck to both teams, and we will catch you tomorrow morning right back here on the Stingray Show. There's nothing like rivalry week in college football. Our friends at J&J Apparel have released 2 awesome designs for 2 of the best rivalry matchups in the South. The Egg Bowl 2025 shirt features a hand-drawn design of the Golden Egg Trophy, available in colors for both Rebels and Bulldog fans. And of course, there's the Iron Bowl 2025 design for our Alabama and Auburn fans. Both shirts are available for a limited time only, so run on over to J&J Apparel's site and get it while you still can. The pre-sale ends December the 1st. Don't miss out. Shop at jnjapparel.net. Once again, that is jnjapparel.net for the Egg Bowl 2025 shirt and the Iron Bowl 2025 shirt, available through J&J Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do you a brisket blend. We'll do you a chuck blend. We'll do you a sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. That's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. And finally, guys, we will be doing this preview show tomorrow, the Lone Star Showdown of Texas versus Texas A&M. See you tomorrow morning right back here on social media for a preview of the Aggies and the Longhorns.